Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Amit Harari, and coming up in today's newscast, Jerusalem flag march taking place tomorrow, and the capital is preparing for the 10th day. Meantime, Elon Musk tweets making the phrase "the Jews enter the list" of trending topics on the platform. And later, ILTV reporting from the kosher and food wine experience, and this time in Tel Aviv. Security forces are finalizing intensive preparations ahead of tomorrow's Jerusalem Day flag march. Hamas and Islamic Jihad terror groups issued warnings, but police estimate that rocket fire is unlikely following this week's ceasefire with Gaza. ILTV's Steve Leibovich reports.
Police exercises ahead of the Jerusalem Day flag march, including dealing with potential rocket fire from Gaza, although such an attack is not thought to be likely following the ceasefire earlier this week. More than 2,000 police officers will secure the annual march, expecting tens of thousands of Israeli marchers celebrating Jerusalem Day, mostly from settlement groups and right-wing and religious organizations. Hamas and Islamic Jihad terror groups both issued belligerent warnings. Hamas said resistance will have its say if red lines are crossed. The Islamic Jihad threatened that the resistance will be prepared for the flag march and will not allow any aggression. In 2021, the Jerusalem March served as a pretext for the Hamas terror group to launch an 11-day conflict, which included rocket fire on Jerusalem during the march. The route will begin as usual in Jerusalem city center and enter the old city of Jerusalem from the Damascus Gate in the Muslim quarter and proceed toward the Jewish quarter, ending up at Western Wall Plaza. The procession will not visit Temple Mount. Central streets in the city will be shut down during the afternoon parade. The flag march takes place every year on Jerusalem Day to celebrate the reunification of the city in the 1967 Six-Day War.
And now joining us with more on the security situation and upcoming 10th Jerusalem Day is CEO and founder of the Israel Defense and Security Forum, Brigadier General Reserves Amir Avivi. Amir, just 2 years ago, Hamas fired rockets at Jerusalem during the march, just days after the ceasefire with Islamic Jihad. Would they dare do so again?
Well, I think that the way Hamas operates, they first strategically decide to confront Israel, and then they look for the excuse. And we see that last year there was a huge parade that day. I participated in Jerusalem's Day, and they didn't shoot. So it's really about their intentions from the beginning, and not necessarily something that Israel does. I think that after they saw the way the IDF managed to really topple all the leadership of the Islamic Jihad, the level of intelligence and the operational capabilities, they will think twice before initiating an operation against Israel. It's obvious that we are in very high readiness and alert, and I think that if they thought for a minute that the Israeli society is weakening, or the IDF or the Air Force is weakened because of what we saw in the last few months, this is not the reality.
I mean, even if there's no rocket fire, there are certainly security risks tomorrow. Is there any special deployment all over the country against terror on Jerusalem Day, or is the main focus on the city itself, on Jerusalem itself?
Well, as you know, the IDF is operating in an ongoing operation in Judea and Samaria, apprehending terrorists that are trying to launch terror attacks in all Palestinian cities. In Jerusalem itself, it's obvious that the police and border patrol will reinforce dramatically their forces to secure all the participants in Jerusalem Day and to prevent any attempt of attacks on people celebrating.
Jerusalem is a huge city, and the large Arab population in Eastern Jerusalem has free mobility there. I mean, some recent terror attacks have actually come from Jerusalem neighborhoods. Can't the march really be fully secured?
Well, there is never 100%, but again, as somebody who participated last year, it was very well protected. And I think that the people who participated felt secure. I think that one of the problems is that the Hamas is really trying to develop terror cells also in East Jerusalem, bringing his ideologies of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is very, very dangerous, and we'll have to be alert. We know that just by existing, by just the fact that we're a Jewish state, this creates this reality. It doesn't have to do with any specific event we do. Anything that is Zionist, anything that has to do with our being here and our connection as Jews to our land is something that supposedly provokes terror.
That's definitely true. Now, other terror fronts in Lebanon and Syria may try to make a statement. Are we closely watching other fronts as well, or not this time?
Well, you know, it's hard to say, but I think that the overall Iranian strategy, and we have to remember, everything we're experiencing has a connection to Iran. You know, last week in our big convention, Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke, and he said that 95% of all the terror we are experiencing comes from Iran. It's a pretty amazing number, and indeed everything is coordinated by Iran. So really this is an Iranian decision. I believe that their strategy at the moment is to keep Hezbollah and Hamas intact for a possibility of an Israeli retaliation or attack on their nuclear program. So they will be very difficult, very careful in really bringing our zone to some kind of war.
We will definitely be following the developments. Amir, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
A top American defense official revealed that the U.S. has 2 Israeli-made Iron Dome air defense systems in its possession, and they could be deployed to Ukraine. We get more from ILTV's Steve Leibovich.
The disclosure that the U.S. has 2 Iron Dome batteries came during an exchange in the Senate committee when Senator Agnes King asked the Assistant Secretary of State John Plum and U.S. Missile Defense Commander Lieutenant General Daniel Karbler whether the U.S. has an Iron Dome to provide to Ukraine for defense against Russian missiles. King also questioned why Washington does not have more influence on how the U.S. funded but Israeli-made project is deployed.
Why isn't Iron Dome being deployed to Ukraine? Secretary Plum?
Sir.
What about Iron Dome?
I'm not aware of an Iron Dome system being offered to Ukraine, but that could be incorrect. I just don't know. Maybe someone else at the table, but I'm not sure.
Any other thoughts?
Sir, so our 2 Iron Dome batteries that we have right now, one completed its new equipment training, new equipment fielding. It is prepared for deployment. The second one is wrapping up its new equipment fielding right now. So the Army does have 1 battery available for deployment pending a request for it.
U.S. officials later clarified that there has not yet been a decision to deploy Iron Dome in Ukraine. As the main producer of Iron Dome systems, Israel would have to grant permission for the U.S. to send it to a third country. Israel has not provided Ukraine with defensive weapons despite repeated requests from Kyiv. Israel has recently provided Ukraine with a civil defense warning system. The Iron Dome air and missile defense system was developed by Israeli defense company Rafael and commissioned by the Israeli government. Israel funded the development and deployment of the first 2 systems. The U.S. has contributed $2.6 billion to the Iron Dome project since its deployment in 2011, allowing for the production of additional systems and interception missiles. There are reportedly 12 Iron Dome batteries in the world, including an estimated 10 in Israel. The U.S. military confirmed it has the other 2, and Ukraine wants them.